60 years ago, the United States Air Force Band, under the direction of Colonel George S. Howard, was on tour in Southeast Asia and did a performance here in Cambodia on May the 9th of 1956. Nobody really knew about this. It kind of came about very strangely that somebody found a newspaper article from 60 years ago about how the Air Force Band did this performance here and how incredible it was.
And like most big events of the day, it was reported and then forgotten. And that's especially true here in Cambodia, where the history was really interrupted. Our diplomatic relations were interrupted for a time. And most interestingly of all, they premiered two compositions by King Sihanouk, who he had stepped down for his father at the time, but he's the most important seminal figure of 20th century Cambodia. And he had been a composer, and he composed two pieces that were performed for the first time that night.
And the king and royal family were in attendance, and several hundred Cambodians were at the royal palace to hear this performance, and several thousand heard it over the radio. And it was a really positive event for the nation of Cambodia and the United States. So 60 years later, they wanted to recreate that magic that happened 60 years ago.
We are privileged to welcome 4 members of the Air Force Band String Quartet, based in Washington, D.C., who will be joined by some special guests.
Recreating a concert for the King and the Queen Mother 60 years after the U.S. Air Force performed for the King and Queen at that time, it seemed like a great way to combine culture with respect for Cambodia's history and respect for our relationship, which dates back over many decades. By bringing our musicians out here, by sharing that with the Cambodians, we're creating an opportunity for our two cultures to get to know each other better, and for us to have an interaction with Cambodians, especially young Cambodians, that just isn't possible by other means. Music has this way of cutting across cultural barriers, and I think the results couldn't have been better. To have U.S. military personnel here in uniform performing for such a high-level audience, it truly represents the United States in a positive way, and I think it creates a lasting impression on our audience.
As far as the King and Queen Mother's reaction, where it really hit me was as I watched their faces as we were performing King Sihanouk's music and seeing a smile come across their face, and to hear that music once again that may not have been heard for almost 60 years. I could see the look in their eyes that they knew that we were paying as much attention to their music as we did to our music. And we could see people in the audience, and I could see the Queen Mother get very touched. And I think that was a great thing, the fact that we did that for her and we honored her and the people of Cambodia that way. This is a wonderful example of something that personally I think we should be doing more of, working with the State Department and the Department of Defense military bands to help the State Department achieve their goals in our national security strategy. You know, when we talk about our instruments of power and the diplomatic, we break the ice. Air Force bands, military bands really help break the ice for some pretty tense and high-level communications. So to bring us out here and work with the State Department on this was just a truly remarkable event. This whole program, almost didn't happen because of the bureaucracy that had to take place, and the fact that it did, and I think the results that the United States Embassy and the United States government are going to see for 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road because of a 1-hour performance. I think that's what we're going to take away from this trip and this experience over here, that perhaps we really made a difference in U.S. and Cambodia relations with something as simple as music.